Who likes broadcast streams? I do. Unfortunately, since I'm stuck on HughesNet, I don't really get to watch them. But hey, you can. And so I'd like to plug my good friend Chompie. Recently, she's been doing her own gaming streams on her Twitch TV channel, www.twitch.tv/ChompieSeriously. There'll be a link in the description. Her streams are all about playing a good variety of games, and hopefully giving a little love to some titles that not too many people have heard of. A lot of indie games, things she's gotten on Steam, things like that. She welcomes people to come check out her stream, get in the chat, ask her questions, talk to her about the game she's playing, things like that to give her some good stuff to talk about. She aims to stream every weekday from at least 2 to 4 Pacific time, so get over there and show Chompie some support. Everyone loves Chompie! Hello, Rowan Mithril here once again, getting back to Mega Man 3, and we're halfway through the Doc Robot stages. Just 2 more to go. So, let's not waste any more time and get right to it. Onward to Gemini Man Revisited. It's a secret to everybody! So, as we return to Gemini Man stage, things seem pretty much the same as when we left them. Nice starry sky, crystally ground, that sort of thing. However, there is one slight cosmetic difference. The nitrons have changed colors. Now they're orange and they drop blue fire, as opposed to the other way around back as it was during the normal Gemini Man stage. I'm not really sure why that is exactly. Maybe it's some kind of palette limitation from having the bugs around in this place? Either way, I think the blue fires look pretty cool. Now there is one rather large stage asset that actually was not used, but it's still buried in the code of the game. A giant flashing planet Saturn in the background. The first time I ever saw it was in the Endless Mega Man 3 ROM hack, so that was kinda interesting to see. I'm not sure if it was intended for the original stage or the revised version. So anyway, you want to take this room a bit slowly because of all the nitrons. It's easy to get ambushed by them. And the whole Proto-Man maid is still there. Ooh. Ah, sadness. I don't know, I might be maxed out on those anyway, I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, that was kinda close. Oh, my love of shinies, it's gonna be the death of me. So we've got more poles in here. Now you want to be a little bit careful here. Just pop this top one and get out of the way. If you keep firing wildly up there, chances are you'll get overrun. It's rather easy to do. Kinda like taking the top route so I have fewer of those to deal with. But it's time for the next Doc Robot fight. Behold Doc Flash, definitely not the savior of the universe. The start of this fight is rather tricky. Yeah, you have to do a really precise jump there and get ready to jump again. From there, it's just keeping control of the high ground. You want to jump out and over him as much as you can on each pass, otherwise his shots get wild and he might hit you. Getting more over him like that, it seems like he usually just starts firing straight forward instead of trying to angle his shots. And that's good for you. I've seen some players do this a bit faster to where they'll take shots at him as he's climbing up toward you, but I don't like to risk that. It tends to throw my timing off. And it's still easy to get things wrong, and his giant hitbox doesn't help matters. But there we go. Doc Flash is down. Yeah, the start of this fight, that is definitely the tricky part of it. Right, so anyway, with that, time for the second half of the stage. And, once again, we need the assistance of a dog. Alright. So we have more of the bugs to deal with. And, once again, we need the assistance of a dog. They gave me a submarine, I may as well use it and show just how silly it is. You actually can use the Rush Jet here. I think it's why eventually they just gave up on trying to make the Rush Marine a thing. Basically anything it can do, RushJet can do better. But for some reason it still really amuses me just jumping out of the water with the submarine and getting on land like that. It's just silly enough that I love it. Okay, more bugs. Climbing down ladders at us. Tempting as it is to slide here, if you do, it'll register you're holding down as trying to get on those ladders, and that'll tend to lock you up there just long enough for a bug to come say hi. Overall, though, the second half of the stage really isn't much of a threat at all. Of course we're underwater now, so you know what that means. Yes, it's time for Doc Bubble. This fight is not to be underestimated. When he starts firing the bubbles, you kind of want to jump to try and lure his shots. If he fires them from ground level, it is difficult to get past them. Of course, you do have to be careful about the spikes on the top as well. Basically, when he starts firing bubbles, you want to jump as soon as the first bubble he fires gets to about the height of its launch. If you do that, you should usually be high enough up that you won't come back down to where he'll fire, to a point where you can at least slide under the bullets. Yeah, it is still a nerve-wracking fight. Those shots, they kind of feel like they have a bigger hitbox than they should in some cases, and they definitely come faster than the original Bubble Man's shots. This guy is very easy to underestimate. It's another of those where you think of the original fight and how easy it was and expect this to be the same, and not quite. But there we go, Doc Bubble is down, and Gemini Man Revisited is complete. Lovely password screen. Oh, I'm happy to see you. So with that, 3 down, 1 to go. This one wasn't as bad as the last one, definitely, but oh, it still had its moments. Enjoy some outtakes. Either way, I kind of like the blue flames. But I do not like bottomless pits, that's for sure. But yeah, other than that, it's basically just traversing the same crystals. At least there aren't any Pengu bombers, but there are bugs that I kind of figured I could jump. Apparently not. Time for Doc Flash. This one isn't too hard, aside from the very start of the battle. You have to do a tricky jump around him, and the hit detection is pretty tough to get around. Yeah. Yeah, jump, you gorilla. That just looks ridiculous. All the difficulty here really is at the very start. There's a tricky jump you need to do to get over him. Of course, then he can do that. Didn't quite jump over him fast enough. Oh, bugger. This fight, yeah, the hitbox causes a lot of trouble here. You have to do a rather tricky dodge jump, and that really feels like it should have cleared him. Yeah, there's those hitbox problems I was talking about. This fight isn't too bad after you get through the start of it. If you have time to jump. Well, bugger. Just pick your fights carefully, basically, and make sure that you jump out and don't trip off the top of the stage. Coordination! I has it. If you can manage to jump around him, it's not too terribly bad. just be sure that you actually clear him. And so we end things this time with Doc Bubble. This one, don't underestimate him. Yeah, those shots are tricky to get around. Blast. Basically, when he starts firing bubbles, you want to jump and hope you're high enough. I don't think I was. Hey, I actually got through it and got cornered by the bubbles. Yeah. You want to jump in order to lure his shots so that he doesn't do it from ground level. Blast! This fight is actually fairly tricky. Or you could just do something dumb like that. Bravo! So, this was another of those stages where pretty much all the difficulty was held in the two bosses. In some ways, it's thus pretty close to Needle Man Revisited. And my rating? That's pretty close as well. I give Doc Robot Gemini Man Revisited a 7 out of 10. I just very slightly give it the edge over Needle Man Revisited, and it's all because of the bosses. Let's break this one down by comparison. First would be Doc Air versus Doc Flash. Doc Air, it's pretty much just the Airman fight with a slightly larger hitbox, and that's about it. There's just that one tornado pattern that's tough to dodge, though apparently it can be dodged if your reflexes are good enough, but it doesn't even always happen. Doc Flash, on the other hand, that tricky jump at the start, you always have to do that. There's no getting around it, just getting over it. Doc Flash also works a lot differently from the original Flashman. Whereas Flashman jumped every time you shot him, making dodging him a lot easier, Doc Flash just tanks the hit and keeps coming at you, meaning there's a lot of dodging of huge hitboxes to do there, making him a good bit trickier. Next, you have Doc Crash, who was more or less the easiest of the Doc robots and essentially a non-issue, versus Doc Bubble, whose shots make him trickier than you'd imagine. They're a lot harder to dodge than the ones fired by the original Bubble Man, so luring his shots is key, and a bit tricky even at that. It is possible to dodge between them if you really have to, but the water physics slowing your descent, that makes it very difficult. So, yeah, Doc Bubble is clearly tougher than Doc Crash. Now, amusingly, from what I've read, Doc Bubble is actually a total non-issue in the Wily Wars version, where, from what I gather, he only uses the bubble lead, or bubble lead, however you want to pronounce it. I'm not getting into that debate here. The point is he never fires his gun, making dealing with him there a lot easier. Going just by the original NES version, though, the bosses give this stage a slight edge over Needle Man Revisited, but only just. They're not the hardest of the lot by any stretch of the imagination, still tricky, but only about a 7's worth, I would say. So with that, just one to go. And I've pretty much saved the hardest for last. Yeah, all I can say is bear with me. This one will take a while. Last time I had to fight this guy, it took me 2 weeks to get the run down, and that time his stage was easier to get used to. He didn't have another boss to go through before fighting him, he was smaller, and he took more damage from my shots. This is gonna be bad. Very, very bad. And painful. But anyway, that's the end of this one. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed the vid, and I shall see you again next time. Until then, fare thee well.